Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Rainy Days Podcast. I'm your host, JJ Foster, and it is a pleasure. I have two guests from Rainy that'll be joining us today. And actually, one of the guests, the new president of Rainy, is here today. Both of these young ladies are from the Fort Wayne Housing Authority, but I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Larissa Williams, incoming president of the Realtist Association of Northeast Indiana, also known as RANI, and also representing the Fort Wayne Housing Authority.
And my name is Kyra Banks. I am the secretary for RANI, and I also work with Fort Wayne Housing Authority.
All righty, perfect. Now, before we get off into our topics, and we know this is rainy days, you guys are both from Fort Wayne Housing Authority, Housing Choice Voucher, Home Ownership Program. Talk to people about that, because a lot of people don't understand that. They understand vouchers and Section 8, but there's actually a component where somebody can get their mortgage paid.
And yes, so with our home ownership program with the Fort Wayne Housing Authority, we are able to pay a portion of their mortgage like we pay a portion of their rent. They could be on the program for up to 15 years. And if you're elderly disabled, it's for the life of the loan. And if they're interested, they just would need to reach out to homeownership.org and they will get a response and a link to fill out their application.
Okay, perfect. Now, what other programs? Talk to us about FSS and your program. You guys got the new program going on. Talk to the people. Let people know what's going on out there.
So we have a lot of different programs promoting self-sufficiency and moving into home ownership. One of those programs is the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. For individuals that have a voucher receiving assistance from the Housing Authority, they are eligible to enroll into that program. They'll be assigned a coordinator that will help them establish goals. And once they complete those goals within 5 years, they graduate our program. The great thing about it is incentive based. So they accumulate an escrow based on an increase in their earned income for the duration of the time that they're on that program. A lot of our programs kind of all tie into one another, leading towards home ownership. We have resident self-sufficiency programs that help with just basic needs, case management, and wraparound services. We have Jobs Plus, which is a fairly new grant, just providing those wraparound services to get people to have stabilized employment and start careers.
Okay. Perfect. And you all know, Randy, what we like to do is assist with the home buying process. We understand that home ownership is the foundation. It leads to so many things. People get that stability with their home, closing generational wealth, so you can use your home as your own personal bank. All those things are important with home ownership, and one of the reasons that we like to promote home ownership through Rainy. And with our Rainy Day podcast, we like to get the information out to folks so that you understand. So one of the things that we did, as you see, these are two homeowner specialists, and we wanted to come at it a little different. You know, everybody, we do workshops and we talk about pre-approval letters, and the process of home ownership, and we break all that down. Today, we wanted to just kind of put out there, I came up with some questions that are real life emotions and things that people may be feeling throughout that process. I wanted to ask these two young ladies, because they're experts in the field and they get to see, a variety of different people that come through their doors and share their different experiences with them. So with that said, when we talk about the home buying journey, what emotions do you associate with buying a home?
Fear, anxiety, doubt, the unknown, just not being educated on what's next. A lot of people don't know that they can buy a home. They don't really know what the credit score should be. They don't know what resources to look for when purchasing a home. And a lot of people don't know that you don't have to pay the realtor, they think that you have to pay the realtor up front. They don't know that that's all at the closing table, things like that. So Yeah. Anything else you can?
A lot of people, they probably, along with those, they just have a really hard time just getting through the process. The main thing that you want to do at first is get a good realtor. If they don't have a good realtor, you can get into a situation that you're not ready for. You want that realtor who's going to really work in your best interest. And if you have one, the process can be pretty smooth, but yet you're still going to have anxiety. You don't know, especially when you go into the table and you putting in an offer, different things like that. You're really putting that trust into that realtor. So having a good realtor is important.
Okay. And I hear, Larissa, you say things like fear and doubt and not knowing the unknown. One of the reasons we wanted to do this is to let people know you're not by yourself. These
Right.
are feelings that everybody feels. Me and Kyra were talking offset, and like she said, her own personal feeling when she purchased her home, all the things that she went through, and it's funny because her feelings is the same as anybody else's, and we just want to let you know that they are legitimate feelings, and it shouldn't hold you back. The other thing, I was going to ask you, how do you combat it? But you mentioned things about education and having the appropriate realtor. And again, at RANI, that's one of the things that we do. We put on workshops and events and try to educate people. And we want you to utilize the resource. RANI's doors are always open, and everybody that's associated with RANI, from the realtors to the lending institutions to the insurance agents, these are all people that you can reach out to that will talk to you in a friendly way, not talking down to you, and understand the importance of education. Describe the idea of settling down and putting down roots. How does that make somebody feel? What's the importance of that?
That's a great feeling to be able to say, I have my keys and now this is mine. And you can do what you want to with your house. It's not like when you're renting, you're limited on things that you can do. You can go ahead, you paint the walls, you're settling down. You have those roots. If you have children, you want to make sure that they're in that great neighborhood, especially with the school systems and things like that. You have that stability, like, this is mine. I don't have to wait for the landlord to decide if he wants me to stay or if I have to go, or if they're going to sell the house. It's yours.
Yes.
That's yours. And you have that neighborhood. You're learning your neighborhood. You're meeting your new neighbors and just becoming a part of that environment.
And so when you talked about setting the roots, you don't have to get permission. You
Nope.
want to paint and put whatever you want on the wall,
Right.
you do
Exactly.
it. You don't have to get no permission.
Right. Exactly.
No.
Okay. The rest of you got to take that.
Yeah. Just like Kyra said, the stability. And I know with a lot of people renting and things like you said, you never know if that landlord is going to decide to sell that home, and then you have to go find somewhere else to stay. Also, is showing your children that you can start building generational wealth for them. And, it's the American dream to purchase a home, right? So everybody wants to live that American dream. So it's just a good feeling, knowing that you did it, you purchased a home, especially if you're first generation of purchasing a home. So
Yeah. And elaborate when you talk about establishing that generational wealth, that home is going to be yours. And when we talk about establishing roots, you literally are establishing roots. If I purchase a home and I say, hey, I might want to move to Florida or whatnot, but I let my son, he can live in the house. Once it's paid for, that literally that is a house. When you talk about roots, that's a house that everybody can come back to, all our gatherings and whatnot. And to your point, when you talk about generational wealth, that's one of the biggest gaps. One of the reasons there's gaps that exist between Caucasians and minorities is home ownership. So once that house is paid for, you literally, if I wanted to pull money out, whatever the house is worth, which is equity, and we've talked about that before, but that's money that you can pull out to send your kid through college, to, go on a trip, whatever you need to do, you can pull that money and utilize those funds.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
okay. What about share some experiences, good or bad, that influences people's mindset regarding home buy?
what I tell my students, well, not students, but participants, what I tell them is it's not going to be easy. The biggest picture is to stick it through. A lot of them, like I said, with my own personal experience, they ask for the underwriting I believe is the one that just make you be like, why do we have to even go through all this? But they're wanting to make sure that you're able to stay in that home. So you understand that process. But to have you send the paperwork in, if you're missing a page or so it was blank, we need to see it. We want to make sure nothing's on there. Different little things like that. So I would tell them all the time, no matter what you're feeling, stick it out. Because at the end goal is you're going to get those keys at the closing table. And that is going to be worth everything that you went through to get to that house.
There you go. Keep your eye on the prize.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's what I like about RANI, and then also what Kyra's doing at the Housing Authority, because they have that mentor to walk them through the process, and just keep encouraging them as they have those bumps in the road. Like, just keep going, just keep going. You'll get over it. You'll finally get those keys to that house, and you can go decorate and plant your garden and do whatever it is you need to do, but it's all worth it at the end. And so I think just for people, just get somebody in your corner that can keep pushing you, so you don't stop and give up and just purchase that home.
Gotcha. And I know, Kyra, you kind of you talked about the underwriter and that whole process. So I asked both of you, through your experience, what do you think, what causes the most stress or most angst for people that are in that home buying process?
Basically, I think it's just the whole process, period. You're anxious in the first place. And especially if you're going against some other, another buyer, are they going to accept my offer? Or, you're waiting, like twiddling your thumbs, and you get to the point. And then when you find out, oh, they took my offer, like, okay, you're excited. But you don't want to tell anybody anything because you still have to go through the whole process. The underwriter can say, oh, no, you might have to pay that car off, or you're going to have to do this, or no, I don't think this, it's different little things that come up. You need this additional funds, or you're going to have this money. That's the stress, especially if you don't have like the 20% that you want to put down. Well, you're going to have to do this, or your mortgage payment is going to be this. It's so much that goes on there, and you be like, oh my God. And you up all night and you just think like, I really want this house. And then and if you love the house and something comes up and you can't get it, you feel so, defeated. You're like, I went through all of this and you couldn't get it. Yeah. So I just really think that the biggest part is from the beginning to the end, it is stressful. It makes you anxious. Because you want to get everything and you want to do it. And so I think that's just the main thing. It's just being, even though you're going through this process, at the end, like we said, keep your eyes on that prize, because at the end of all of that you're going through, it's going to be worth it at the end.
Gotcha. And it's funny, you touched on something. You said, hey, you don't have that 20% to put down. Now, again, that's some misinformation that's out there. A lot of people think that 20%, but you don't necessarily need 20%. Right. There's some zero down programs out there. There's some 3% programs out there. There's some 5%. So again, being educated and asking questions, but to your point, you're exactly right. It's people, before even talk to them, hey, how come you're not interested in home ownership? No, I don't have any money to put down. By the time you get done talking to them and you figure out, no, you have everything that you need, but it is just that encouragement, that push, and get them the correct information that can help. What kind of advice or strategy do you use when dealing with somebody that has all that anxiety and that stress and just the fear of that unknown?
I tell them my story, what I went through, and that I had a really good realtor to, guide and advocate for me. And he really heard what I wanted. It took a minute. I was being shown some houses. I'm like, I just want something new. And when I said that out loud, I didn't even know it was possible. And so my realtor was really good at, helping me to make that decision in doing new construction. And so that opened up another just can of worms of anxiety. Having to figure out like light switches and HDMI plugs and flooring and all of that, but it was a good stress. At the end, it was a lot to deal with, but I was really grateful to have like a realtor in my corner who actually heard me, because I would have ended up in something that I didn't want. And so make sure you do your research, on lenders, on realtors, making sure it's a good fit for you, because it may not, if you have a friend that went through the same lender or realtor, it may not be, the same benefit for you. So just make sure you do your research. And we tell our people all the time, here's a list of people. However, you go do your own research, because we can't tell you who to choose.
Gotcha. And one of the things we're big on in our workshops and the financial literacy piece, we talk about relationships. It's all about the relationships. And you guys know one of the things I talk about, even when I was with the housing authority, you want to have that relationship, somebody that's working with you, not working against you, or have their idea of what is a good home. You had great example, like you said, you had the wrong house, but you knew what you wanted, and that person was willing to listen to you.
Yes.
What are some things that trigger people? Do you guys see things that trigger? Because you kind of hit on it. You said talked about have another buyer, and are they going to outbid me and things, and then even underwriter may ask for additional information. And I know people kind of, when you deal with downtrodden folks, they're just waiting for something. Like, I know it's going to go bad. I know it ain't for me. What kind of triggers do you guys see?
I would say that is the one thing that I do see. They look at the paperwork. Oh, we got all this paperwork we have to do. Yes, you do. Putting down your down payment. I don't have that money. Okay, this is why we saving it. So that's part of our program. We want you to have these funds saved, so you'll have them available for if you need to put a down payment on, if you need to do earnest payment, anything like that. I think that's a big thing. Another thing that I tell the folks that I work with is don't give up. No matter how hard it is, there's programs out there. You just have to check and see. And like I want to touch on what Larissa said, is about the lenders. There's so many lenders. Everybody has a different product. I said you need to reach out to them and see which product works best for you. And just going through that process. I had a couple of them. They were just, getting themselves ready. And it's like, I'm not ready right now. I was like, well, what changed? Well, it's just all this paperwork, all this we have to go through. I said, that's the beginning. That's the beginning. So that's one of the emotional things that you go through, is just getting through the beginning, because it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of stuff that you're going to have to go through. So I would say I just think that a lot of them just really, they see the beginning, they get anxious, and they don't want to do it. But you have to have that person to push them and say, keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah. Okay. And also student loans is a big one too. Big trigger. A lot of people think I have so many student loans, like thousands of dollars of debt. Like, how can I purchase a home? When they think about debt to income ratio, not knowing if you set up a payment plan, they count that 1% as the debt to income ratio. So a lot of people are miseducated or just don't know that they're not going to count that full $60,000 in student loans towards that debt to income ratio. So I think that discourages a lot of people too, until they come to us asking for help. Then we're able to guide them and tell them like, hey, you can do it. Yes, you can.
And that's, I think that's where the financial literacy classes come into play.
Yes.
We push those classes for them so that they understand these are the things they're going to count. That's when you ask a lot of the questions that you need to ask is at those classes.
Yeah. That's funny that you said people are discouraged by student loans and that debt. As a lender, we get people, they don't even mention student loans. They talk, oh, my credit is good, this, that, the other. Then you get there, you pull it, they got 20 student loans. But yet they think, oh, no, it was in deferment. Okay, deferment means you have to pay that back. At some point, it just was pushed back. you're still responsible for that. So that I mean, you just told me something I didn't realize. People said, "Hey, I can't do it because of my student loans." But it is a whole different animal how to navigate around them. And like you said, the IDRs, income driven repayment plans, are a way around that, because now you have a set amount based off your income to get that loan paid back. The other comment I'll say is, you talked about the stack of paperwork, and it's funny because with you guys' program, the Housing Choice Voucher, so now not only do you have a lender and everything that's going on, that's another layer that folks might look at. But at the end of the day, it is something, this is good, this is beneficial. You should be, hey, I'm willing to jump through whatever hoop,
Right.
because you guys get paid $300, $500 of a monthly mortgage payment
Exactly.
for 15 years. Sign me up. The other part, there are layers that get added. Say somebody is in one of these down payment assistance programs, and they're going to come up here, come to spring. So you may be looking at getting $25,000 down. But yeah, there's an additional layer. We're going to ask for this, that, the other. The lender has their requirement. You have to do that. And then you guys got the voucher payment. So yeah, sounds like a lot, but it is. By the time you do the math and you think of the money that you're saving, and you're going to get into your own home ownership.
Exactly.
And when we talk about wealth, man, hey, whatever I need to do, let me do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot, but it's not anything strenuous. All the information is about you, is demographic stuff. And it's funny because you'll see some people who have all their ducks in a row, and they pulling that stuff up. They sending you document, whatever you got.
Yes.
They got it.
Exactly.
Hey, and it's just a simple sign that they are ready. And those folks motivated to get it. But as we said, a lot of people come from, have had traumatic events, stressful, high stress level situations, and they just think, it's not going to turn out. It's just easy to say no. But important, as you guys said, have somebody that's there that's pushing you through that process. And at the end of the day, it's going to pay off. And with that, somebody comes to you guys and they're first time home buyer. How would you describe to them? What does home mean? What is it? What are you telling somebody? How are you selling home ownership to that person?
I tell them this: you want to know what home means? It's yours. It's yours. You don't have the landlord coming to your door talking about, oh, you got 30 days to move. You don't have to worry about any of those things when you're renting. Home is mine. I walk in the door. These are my keys. This is mine. It's mine. And that's how I do it for them. It's nothing like when you're renting and you have to deal with that neighbor that lives below you or the ones that live above you. You can run around your whole house and enjoy yourself. It's mine. That's how I see home. This is mine.
Now to that, it's yours. Everything that you just said, I ain't got to rely on the landlord to do this, to do that. Now, what do you say to those people that say, that's why I don't want a home. I don't want to shovel snow. I don't want to cut grass. Hey, my toilet gets clogged. I want to call the landlord, the maintenance guy.
And you have those families who chooses to be renters. Some don't. They're okay with that, and that's their mindset. But to push the home ownership program is to just see who really, really wants to be a homeowner. I can use my daughter for an example. Great, everything is good with her. Everything. I said, why don't you just purchase home? She said, I don't want to be bothered with that. I was like, why? I was like, because it can be yours. You don't have to worry about it. She said, I'm fine. And some people are just fine with that,
So she'd rather pay for somebody else's kid to go to college.
She would.
Pay for her own.
She would. But it's not too much you can do about that, unfortunately.
No question.
You can, what you say, you can lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah. As long as she knows, and education. So
education.
give her the information. What she does with it is her prerogative.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I agree. The education, but I also look at it as an asset. Like you mentioned earlier, you can pull out the equity in your home to send your kids through college and, things like that. And I think it all just boils down to education, people not being educated enough to know, if I buy this house, doesn't mean I'm locked into this house. I can sell it. I can rent it out if I decide to move into a bigger home or move out of state. That was me at one point. I'm like, why would I buy a house in Fort Wayne? I don't want to be here forever, but I had somebody to educate me like, no, this is an asset for you. You're building wealth for your family right now. So if you decide to sell in 5 years, you can do that. And then you just walked away with something, you know? So
Right.
I think just the education piece, people looking at the bigger picture and not just right now. And you can hire people to come in and do those things like cut your grass
Yes.
Mow
and
your lawn.
get a plumber and
Yeah.
things like that. So, you know, for, you know, those who don't want to do it, you know, just budget, put that money aside to have somebody come do those things for you, shovel your snow in the winter.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you just hit on something. I mean, if I live in an apartment for 5 to 10 years, and it's we go to your daughter, she live in an apartment. It's time to leave. She just leave, right? All her money is staying. It's where's it going? Like you said, 5 to 10 years, your house, you decide you want to sell it, and now let's say you say 5 years. I bought my house during COVID. Prices have shot up. So say I paid $100,000 for my house during COVID. 5 years later, my house worth $300,000. So you know, regardless where you're at with your payment, if you paid it off, that's 300 that you got to do what you want, put in the bank. If you still owe 50, that's 250 that you have. So simple math, folks.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
that's the way you need to explain it. Let's talk about you get somebody to process, they're going through it. Have you seen anything, people's angst or fears get the best of them where they wanted to back out, jump out of getting a house? Have you guys ever seen that situation? Or had to talk somebody off the ledge and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go through this?
I haven't yet. So as of right now, I have not. So
Okay.
that's a good thing.
Okay, well, good. Okay, what about this? What about even from making an offer? 'Cause I know what about from making an offer?
So I think I have seen that one where they don't, oh, I can't get that house. I was like, you don't know until you try. You just don't know until you try. But that would be probably more on the realtor side, the lender side, if they shared a story with me. But I haven't had anybody back out on at least putting an offer on the house. So the one young lady, she just went through our process and she was like, well, I'm waiting to see if I got the offer, if they gonna give me the house. And I was like, okay, how you feeling? She said, I'm just nervous that they won't give it to me. But they did. She ended up, her offer was accepted. So she closed on the house. And so,
Okay.
yes,
The rest is history.
the rest is history. Yes.
What about you? Anything come to your mind, Larissa? You got it,
Nothing that really discourages anyone throughout the process. I think, yes, you have those hiccups where it's like, okay, we did this and now you need to go pay off this credit card or something like that to bring your debt to income ratio down. But then, people jump right on that. I think the biggest thing is getting people to want to purchase a home. If they have a lot of debt or they have like a bankruptcy or things like that. I think that is probably the biggest thing we see with people being discouraged. But once they go through the process and they see that it's actually working, we haven't had any issues, not at least not on our side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell the people, because again, I know we talk about misinformation and stuff that's out there. If I get up in the process, I'm going through the process, and something comes up with the house that I'm not comfortable with, do I still have to go through with that loan?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
Well, it depends also too on the contract and if they had signed one and all of that
No, I mean it all depends. I mean, something comes up in the inspection. If you had an inspection done, you're not obligated to go through it. The house,
Right.
both parties. That's something that you can legally both parties can walk. You have things with the appraisal. If somebody I'm purchasing a home for $200,000, and the appraisal comes back for $150,000. Am I obligated to go through that? No, I'm
No,
not.
you're not.
You can walk away, and that's what people have to understand. There's a couple different options. if you really want that house as a buyer, you make up that difference. You can make up that $50,000 difference. B, the seller, they can say, okay, it came back 150. I'm gonna lower my price to 150. And then the third option is you just walk away. Both walk away. So wanted to let people know that, because that's just it, people. I'm not signing that, thinking they're locked in, but no, there are checks and balances. The other thing is the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure is going to have everything defined, what your monthly payment is going to be, all the money that's owed by the borrower, money that's paid by the sellers. It's all written out. And at that point, that's 3 days prior to closing. So if you look and something doesn't look right and you're not comfortable with it, you're free to back out of that scenario as well too. Yep. So, what we got? Personal growth and identity. How does owning a home change your sense of identity or self? I mean, you kind of touched on that earlier, but let's talk about that again.
I think, just both like we said earlier, just the independence, the freedom, the ability to do what you want in your home. After 5 years of living in an apartment, you may say, hey, I need a new paint job, but can you paint in that apartment? Nope. Can you change out the carpet? It just depends on what's in the lease. You could do all those home improvements to your own home. And then also, another big thing about home ownership is the community. If you're living in a housing addition, you have that community. You get to know your neighbors, and it's not short term, it's long term with those neighbors that you have, opposed to an apartment living in may be a short term relationship with those neighbors. So you're building a community for yourself and your family as well. So
just enjoying the fact that it's your home. As what Larissa said, you can make adjustments to your house as you so choose, and really to get to know your neighbors in the neighborhood that you are raising your family in. Me, for right now, I don't have children to raise in in that community, but still just getting to know the family that lives in my area. It's just ours. Okay. At the end of the day, it's yours, yourself, your identity. Your neighbors know you. The people know about you in the communities, things like that. You do something fancy to everybody wants to come and look. What you did. It's like different little stuff like that. But it's just really just building that sense of that community within yourself and your home.
Gotcha. And I got one more question before we wrap up. And again, I try to ask stuff based off experience. What advice would you have for somebody? You guys have touched on a little bit, but in purchasing your home, as far as the neighborhood or where I want to live, what kind of things are people looking at? I mean, is that something that we can say across the board? What advice would you have for somebody? Where you want to live at? What type of neighborhood, location?
It all depends on the person. What is it that they're looking for? Where do they work? Do you want to be closer to your job? Do you want to be closer to your family throughout the city? I think it all just depends on the person and where they want to go.
And I know a lot of families who have young children, it's the school systems. They want to be at a good school system. They want their children to get the best education. I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people are looking at is that part. I want to I want my children to go to this school, or, so I want to live here, or like you said, if they want to live closer to their home, or, or shopping. It's just so many things that you can look at when you're purchasing a home. So many things. But I think school, work, and family are probably the three biggest reasons why people pick a home in a certain area.
There you go. And that's what I was looking for. It's an individual choice. And when you talk about choosing your realtor, Yeah, it's not up to your realtor to
Right.
tell you
Correct.
where you want to live. If I'm from Auburn and I grew up, I'm a rural person and I want to live out in the country, that's my ideal home. You're not going to show me something downtown. I'm not interested in a condo downtown. If I'm a city guy from New York City, and that's just it. I'm not worried about having a car. I want to be somewhere that has is off the transit line. I'm close to work. I can walk places. I can do all that stuff. That's what I'm looking for. I don't care about how many acres you got over here. I'm not
Right.
interested in that. So it's all, we're unique to our own circumstances. And that's
Yes.
what we have to understand. And like we talking about that, A, knowing ourselves and knowing what you want, and then B, not getting people on your team that are going to try to talk you into what they say
they
is an
want.
ideal home.
Exactly.
Like you said, you talk, oh, we got all these parks and this and other. I don't got no kids. I'm not worried about that.
Right.
I'm from Chicago. Hey, I'm good. I like cars going up and down the street. That's what I'm looking for. So it's all about what you're looking for. And I get people come through my doors, and some people that said, hey, I want to look over here. Some people I want to look over there. Some people I don't have preference. I just whatever the best bang for my buck. It's all your prerogative.
That's true.
Yes.
Hey, I appreciate having you guys on. I know, like I told you, it goes quick,
Yes.
as you saw. Talk to people, Miss Presidente of RANI, and Miss Secretary. How can people find out about RANI, the events that are going on, and things of that nature?
You can always check us out on our Facebook page, Realtist Association of Northeast Indiana. We also have a website, rainifw.org. You can find all our information there as well. And you can also email us at info@rainy.org.
All righty. Anything else going on? Any upcoming events people should know about? You want to give them a heads up on Realtist Week? I know it's
Yeah.
early, but still.
Yeah. So we have Realtist Week coming up in April. More information about that will be coming soon. And just a little backstory about why we are called Realtist. So back in the 70s, realtors did not allow African Americans to come in and call themselves realtors. So African Americans said, okay, well, we'll give ourselves a name. And so that's where the Realtist came from. And it's under the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. There's different chapters nationally. And then we are the local chapter here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We are always accepting new members. So if you are interested in promoting democracy in housing and want to see what we're all about, please join us for our next membership meeting, which is the third Wednesday of every month. And we will be happy to have you.
Was it March 11th?
March 11th.
Yes. Okay, and then at the Fort Wayne Housing Authority, in conjunction with First Merchant and Brightpoint, we are hosting a home buyers education class that's going to be on March the 14th. It will be held at the Fort Wayne Housing Authority on Hannah, and it is from 9 a.m. to 5. And once you complete that class, you will get a certificate, which will exempt you from paying $150 to get that certificate. So
Perfect.
come on out.
All right. While we're giving out information, want to remind everybody tonight down at the Fort Wayne Library, the Allen County Public Library, 5:30 to 6:30. Fair Housing Series is doing the third part of Shame of Chicago, Shame of the Nation discussion. And it's funny you talk about realtors because last week they talked about the term realtor. It's only been around since 1912, 1917, whichever the case. And I kind of chuckled because, we do a recap following every Wednesday session. We come on, we'll be on tomorrow morning, Thursday, and we talk about what was discussed. And that's exactly what I told folks about the term realtors. I said, people that don't know, we're always getting corrected.
Yes.
You mean realtor
They
or
are always correcting
auto
us.
check is changing it? No,
Yes.
we're realtors because African Americans were not allowed to be called realtors. So again, appreciate you guys having us on. Hope we dropped a little knowledge. We're educational for some folks. Anytime anybody can get any nuggets out there, it's a win for us. Come on out, join us at a RANI meeting, and It's open. Our doors are open to the public. So come on
Yes.
out and definitely attend our events. We will see you back next month. Our next episode is investment properties. So come on, learn a little bit about investment properties. And we'll have, I'm sure, more information regarding Realtist Week to give you guys next month. So with that said, I am your host, JJ Foster. Until next time, we are out. Rainy days.